Colton Mertens, the king of content. How are things going there? Is he? I feel like he could be injured and he wouldn't even tell you. But is he firing on all cylinders? Do you think? Is there any kind of apprehension about him doing quarterfinals the way that he's doing it? Would you rather him come to you guys and just kind of quietly go through the motions and then go back to training, or do you think this is a good little litmus test for him going to crash?
I think it's a good one because for him right now, he's on such a wave in his career of getting eyeballs on him finally that he should be doing everything he can. I think for him, the open and quarterfinals movements typically are great for him. I think he's going to do good no matter what comes out for these movements. So we're not too worried on the athletic side of things. Joey's going to be with him day by day remotely, talking to him over the phone, doing all that. And he'll have people with him in person as well. So we're not too worried about him being there. I think he's going to perform whether he's in a 4x4 closet or if he's at the CrossFit Games mentally. It's not going to be an issue for him. So I think we're bummed he won't be here, but we're more excited for the fact that he's going to get more exposure doing it with those guys in front of a lot of eyeballs.
Who is going to be there? So Luis Oscar Mora, is he still in situ? Yeah.
We have 20 people coming, 20 athletes, which is going to be wild. All of the coaches will be here, which is great. Jared obviously just had his baby, but he'll be back, which will be really good. And then we've got 8 athletes that are flying in just for this. So it's going to be quite the
week. Injury-wise then, how's everybody faring? Is there any kind of little problems anyone has, or any strained tendons or anything like that, if you look through the roster?
No, I think everybody's dealing with something, right? It's that point in the season. Like Caroline, I heard you talk about in the last press conference, like you'd be lying to yourself if you don't have something going on at all points of the season. And I think the obvious one here is Tia. We're just trying to figure out what's happening with her. But her trajectory since the Open has been nothing but good. But you get into that world, right, where if you're the 6th-time fittest woman on earth, you want to win quarterfinals, like no matter what. And even if you just came off an injury or if you're coming off from having a baby, she wants to win, but it's going to be up to us this year to kind of hold her back a little bit because she just needs to get through this week. Everything injury-wise with the rest of the athletes, there's absolutely nothing serious that we're worrying about at all right now. People just have the typical wear and tear of the season going on.
With Tia's injury or her wrist issue that she's had, is that something that could potentially? Because I heard her say in one of her vlogs that sometimes a workout she just can't do it. Is that a preventative thing, or like could she potentially be at semifinals and be like, "Oh shit, I can't do this movement. I have to sit this out"?
Yeah, and at that point, I think when she said that was the Open, correct? That was one of the YouTube videos. Yeah, we're way past that now, which is awesome.
Okay.
Like, we were having those preventative measures at that point, so she could be at the point now to where nothing's going to hold her back. The only thing that will hold her back is herself wanting to be the fittest woman on earth again, like I said before. But she can get through everything just fine now.
So no pain, no hesitation on movements and stuff.
Nah, I mean she'll need to hold back on some things just because she hasn't tested things fully. You know what I mean? Like 100% games level preparation hasn't been there, but it's quarterfinals, which it never really is. So we're still going 80% for a lot of things that she's doing, and she's still in quarterfinals. Get through that. And I think the first real test, not just for her, but all of our top like tier 1 athletes that we sponsor will be semifinals. So I think that goes across the board as well.
Looking over Australia, Jay and Maddie, obviously, the big proven dogs over there, but there's like quite a steep field on both the men's and women's side. There's a lot of like really decent athletes vying for those. What's the plan with managing those? Is someone going to go over there with them, or how is that going to be managed?
So they're here. So Jay and Maddie are here, and they will be leaving the Wednesday after quarterfinals. Now, when they go back over there for semifinals, there'll be 3 weeks in between then to where we've got a coach over there that will be helping them out. And we've obviously got a ton of just friends and family that we know over there that will be with them day to day. But that comes back to Shane being up all night, myself being up all night, talking to them on Zoom, whatever it takes.
Excellent. And obviously Jay's like presuming he comes out of quarterfinals, like we all hope he does, there's a crown to be defended, and it's not an easy thing to do. Like that competition's getting harder and harder. He seems to be on the up though consistently. Like all of his performances seem to be improving. Every time he performs, he looks better than he did the last time. Is confidence just constantly on the rise there?
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you, those three Aussies right now, Tia, Jay, and Maddie are, I mean, they're a different breed. Like, I haven't been around the three of them training at full capacity ever before. And Maddie specifically, she came with us last year, and she was coming off a missed games appearance. She did okay at semifinals, but nowhere where she wanted to be. She wasn't with us yet. She saw what happened with Jay. She came on with us fully, and she's been here for 6 weeks now. And she's a night and day different athlete. Same with Jay. Jay just keeps impressing us. Every single week he's in the gym, something's getting better with him. So I think it's going to be an absolute dogfight with him and Ricky, obviously. I know they're both excited about it, and they've competed against each other before. But we're honestly, for Jay, we're looking at the games at this point. Like, what can he do at the games to get even better than he did last year?
Yeah, it's exciting. The girls then, so you've got Lucy over our side. You got Caroline Stanley over that way. The two Sydneys, everybody feeling good and feeling confident. I guess Sydney Michelasian is the obvious one who maybe missed out last year and might feel like she has a bit between her teeth, a bit of a point to prove. Everything looking good there?
Yeah, no, I don't think anything could be better with Jarrett's guys. So, like, I think Lucy is the interesting one, right? Because she just has so much space in front of her to get better. We don't really know what's going to happen on that side. She's got a couple options with the games this year, so it's going to be good to kind of let her just take it loose, no risk, no stress on this, and just go for semifinals. If it doesn't work out, she can always do the team games. But when it comes to Caroline, I think she's in a bit of the same boat to where she's still young. And like, as crazy it is, Sydney Michelasian is only 24. She just turned 24. She seems like she's been around a while. But I think these three, especially those three ladies, feel like they have something to prove this year, especially because it's, pun intended there, because they're brand new to our camp. But they want to really go out hard this year. And I think quarterfinals will be their first time where we kind of see them push the envelope. I think the Open was good because we got to kind of just know them as athletes, where now we can just kind of let them ride.
Anyone else you feel like we should be keeping an ie out for then over the next 5 or 6 days?
Yeah, you mentioned Luis briefly, but Luis is going to be another one to watch for sure. That's going to be a guy that I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. He had a very up and down performance at semifinals last year, where I don't think people realize how close he was to being like a top 5, top 6 in the West semifinal. He'll tell you better than anybody. And I was actually there coaching him. He just had mental mistake after mental mistake that has been completely shored up this year. He's made the move where he lives here full time. He's working with all of our coaches every single day. And I think this year is going to be huge for him. So quarterfinals, it's always a hit or miss because he's more of a game-styled athlete, but quarterfinals should be good for him.
First up, Jen Muir, who made a big splash at semifinals last year, her first bow at semifinals. Confidence high, or any kind of nerves or any, physical niggles or injuries or anything we need to be concerned about?
Yeah, no, probably just the usual mix of excited, apprehensive, ready to go, really. I remember in January her saying, literally can't wait for the season to get started. So now it's here, happy days. So we'll all be going up to Wigan, sunny Wigan, on Wednesday, and then cracking on from there.
With her, obviously she was an unknown to a lot of people last year. Like, athletes probably wouldn't have known to be looking over their shoulder at her or whatever in certain heats, and now she's got a bit more about her and people are more aware of her. Does that change any kind of tactics or anything going into workouts or how you approach things?
I don't think so. I feel like we'd still be flying under the radar if you stop mentioning her so much. But no, we'll just be focusing on our job, cracking on from there, really.
Ella, then, she took a year out, Ella Wilkinson, for college and kind of get some stuff sorted, and she's back now. A lot of people, I guess, who have recently started following the sport might not be as aware of her, but she's been around an incredibly long time, huge, especially during that sanctions year. Is she feeling kind of free and loose about coming back? No expectations. She hasn't been to semi-finals last year. There's no real weight of expectation on her. Or is it the opposite and she's feeling an extra amount of pressure because she's took a year off and now feels she needs to make an impression?
Yeah, probably somewhere in between, I would say. But I feel like the year off was fantastic for her. Her strength numbers, her conditioning numbers, everything have gone through the roof, really. If you follow her, she's a superstar gymnast. And everything else now has really taken off, so she can go into the season feeling really confident. and ready to go.
With the two of them, then obviously they're aiming for 2 of not very many spots in Lyon, and then even less spots from Lyon onto the games. They're friends, and I noticed they've been training together. They were at a camp with Eric from Weightlifting 101 together. They're obviously really good friends. Is there any like kind of potential tension there, or any kind of like, you know, elbows being thrown or anything as the season progresses?
I don't think so. I think they do a really good job of pushing each other, but not turning it into frenemy status. When we're in Wigan, the only thing we thought of doing is usually Jen would stay at Ella's, whereas Jen's staying in an Airbnb now, just so they can kind of have a bit of headspace from pushing each other the whole time. But no, they do a really good job of being good pals and pushing each other.
So there'd be no like staring down over breakfast this time.
No.
You also have a team. Are there a team I personally predict to do quite well this season? They had a bit of a scare where their scores were all reverted back to 0, and it looked like maybe their season was over, and their score has been stated. Is everything back on an even keel now? Is everybody kind of like calmed down after the brief scare and getting back to business?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was just an issue with the videos, but that all got sorted. I think just some of the links weren't working or something. All got sorted now, and I think it's just lit the fire for them even more.
Michele, I guess, I mean, I had this as Deka comp, but I guess, should I change it to this? Should I change it to HWPO training now? Is
that was
congratulations on that. Has that been a long process? Have you known about that for a long time, or has it steamrolled quite quickly?
Well, all things considered, it has been very quick. Like once we decided to make this merge happen, it's been really quick. So we had a confirmation that this was going to go through in February of 2024. So it's been in the talks, and like we've, you know, I've played with the idea for a little bit longer than that, but you know, February 2024, we agreed on pretty much everything and then move forward. So that's we're doing a soft launch in May, public launch in June. So that's like 4 months. You know, it's pretty quick for a big merge like that.
And the emotions over the last week or so, then, have you been like mourning? Have you been celebrating? Is it a mix of both?
It's a mix of both, I'd say, because I've been struggling like on a personal level. The business, I mean, it's great. Like there's been some amazing accomplishments, but to be honest with you, it's been hard working kind of on my own. I've had a great team working with me, but when I'm talking about more on the international level, like going to competitions, taking care of athletes, taking care of the overview of the business, I've been on my own for so long that I just needed to be part of a team. So I'm really happy about it. I've mourned over the last, 4 months. So the emotions of sadness are almost all gone. We'll see what happens on April 30th. But I'm really excited. Like it's going to be an exciting change. I'm, ecstatic.
Excellent. So the main man that we're here to talk about, I guess, Pat, he has been around, an incredible long amount of time now in the sport, and at the top of the sport especially. Does it get easier preparing season on season when, like, would it be accurate to say that it becomes small little, methodical cuts rather than big swooping changes year on year? So it's kind of fine tuning rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater each year.
Yeah, I think on some regards it is a little bit easier because over the years we've kind of figured out what works best for him. The most important thing at his age, because he's old, is I know it's just about volume and intensity management. So that's where it's becoming more and more consistent in making sure that the volume versus intensity contrast is good. But in terms of weakness development and strength development, there's not a whole lot we can do at that age. It's, we figure out what combinations of movements are effective at increasing strength, skill, endurance, high intensity power output that doesn't cause any harm. So over the years, we've pinpointed certain combinations, certain things that we can't really do for injury management. But that being said, I still, one of the things that I've done, I think, really well with Pat over the years is always tried something new, even as he ages. So there are certain things that I won't change, like I was mentioning, volume, intensity stuff. But, I try to be as creative as I can when it comes to specific preparation for competition so that we're not adapting, right? One of the things that happens when we program for the same person for so long is that we have specific styles. And so athletes become really good at adapting to the training. But one of the goals is to kind of always trigger adaptation for Pat. So being creative and changing things around here and there is really necessary for him to stay on top of things and to make sure that we don't find ourselves with a surprise weakness at a competition.
How's he feeling then, being aged? Is he preparing well, feeling good? Like he doesn't have any concerns or any like stiff points that that might hold him back, or, is he feeling good?
I think overall he's feeling tired because he just had a second baby.
And he's moving, right?
Yeah, he's moving. I don't know when exactly the move is going to happen, but I think overall at this moment in time, if you were to ask him right now, he'd probably say that, having a second baby is taking a toll. So we are staying on top of things and we're not pushing any limits right now. So I'd say that his body is in a good place. Just like any athlete at this point in time, especially if they've been training for so long, there are some little niggles like that we're just avoiding and making sure that it doesn't become bigger than a little niggle. So, his training numbers are still really good. He's still talking to me, so that's good. But yeah, a second baby, not a lot of sleep. We're really being careful with intensity, making sure that he's feeling really good for quarters that is coming up.
Looking beyond quarterfinals then with, I guess semifinals, it's always a steep field in North America, but well, basically everywhere, I guess. And to the games then, obviously, I'm assuming, much like the other athletes of his caliber, that the games is the overarching goal, but you have to respect the hurdles as they approach. You can't underestimate anyone or anything. But with him, is there any kind of early maybe onset of pressure with the games looming, because that field in particular gets harder and harder every year? The caliber of athletes there gets better and better. The predictions or the guesses for who'll finish first, second and third, Pat's always there or thereabouts. He's always involved in those conversations. But now this year you have like Ricky is coming back. Jeffrey won it last year. Roman has a point to prove and a bit of a bee in his bonnet, having been in the lead last year and lost out. Brent is back to his best. Like, are those kind of things ever a conversation or ever a thought this early in the season?
No, we don't talk about that. I think Pat is well aware that every year, again, the biggest concern / weight on Pat's shoulders is his age. And it's always there. We're not talking about that just yet. And me personally, where I have a lot of confidence in Pat is how sharp he is during competition. Competition skills are probably his strongest point. So I'm not too concerned about the pressures leading up to it. Semifinals is a little bit different because there is a qualification added pressure. I think at the games, it's when you're in the games, it's more about surviving the weekend, and Pat's really good at surviving weekends and conserving energy and all that stuff. And at the semifinals, I think there's a little bit more pressure because if you do make a mistake, you don't have a whole lot of time to make up for it and a whole lot of room on the leaderboard. So I think where Pat probably feels more pressure with that is semis, but at the same time, he's proven last year that he can hang with the best, if not win. So, it is always there, but because he does so well under pressure, I'm not too concerned. That being said, I do think that you're right. Like Roman has a lot to prove this year with Enrique as well. So I think this year is going to be a tough one. But I'm confident if we're not training outside in Texas at the games, that he's going to do just as good as he did last year, fight for every single point and do it. So he's really good under pressure. And also knowing how busy he is at this moment, I don't think he's thinking about all of this too much. I think
that's fair.
He's not thinking past his nose, as we say in French. Like this is it. Like he has to get through every day of training and not get hurt. Focus on what we're focusing on, and just accumulate little wins like that.
Moritz, he's kind of becoming somewhat of a staple at the games now. He's kind of getting used to going there, I guess. Is he like excited for another year of it? Is he like braced for a tough task ahead in Europe?
Excited and braced. No one. There's very few people who can go into semi-finals very confident that they're just going to have an easy path towards the games. So, very aware of semi-finals, but wanting to move up this year on the leaderboard at the games.
Is it a case with him of identifying the shortcomings that maybe were exposed last year and working on those, assuming that he's going to get to semi-finals? And then once that's confirmed, the focus becomes semi-finals? Or is the focus always going to be Texas from last August onwards?
So I think there's some goals that are, just about developing day after day, working on the processes. So having that focus, we know what he needs to work on. It's no surprise that Moritz is super strong, really good with the barbell. However, what's lacking is the conditioning. Especially, you could see that very clearly at the games last year, placing top 5 with lifting events and then finishing almost last on the 5K. So that actually gives us quite specific focuses. We can work on his conditioning during this off season. We did a few competitions that again just allowed us to see where we were relative to the field, and then again seeing if we can improve that to the next stage when he's back in Texas.
There's been some changes to the roster on the female side. So Jacqueline obviously has been a long-term program athlete. She's still there. You're still together. But she's with HWPO now. Ella has also been a mainstay in the individual side, and she's going team now this year. I was curious with those changes, has that afforded you more time maybe to focus on Moritz and focus on some of the other athletes? Or do you feel like, is it offering any kind of relief to have lesser focus heading into the season?
Yeah, it's been nice. It has allowed more space, which has been great. Jacqueline, Jake's been really useful with Jacqueline being able to speak and help out on that side. Obviously we're in a relationship, we live together, so can help out. I mean, the main goal for her is just to be in the best shape she can be for the season. And so Jake's been really useful in helping out on that side. And then with Ella, I actually think Ella's like a phenomenal asset to a team. And even last year, I was like, we should consider Ella. A lot of people won't have seen her on team before because it was the COVID year. But when they allowed, it was all a bit of a messy time in the CrossFit season, but when they allowed super teams to go, we had a team that qualified to the games, and Ella just kind of came out of herself on the team. It was really impressive to see. But we didn't get to see them on the big stage because of COVID. And then last year, she rightfully so made the decision to go individual. And this year, because of a few factors, she's going team. And I really think she's an amazing asset to any team. So I'm excited to see her compete alongside those guys.
Luka Vunik had an amazing open. Is the aim just to carry that forward through quarterfinals and then hopefully into semifinals and maybe beyond then?
Yes, so he's been fringe games for a few years now. And we started speaking in September. He's working with one of our coaches, Chris. And, it'd be like one of those really nice stories. Over the years, we've been very successful in taking these fringe athletes from, who've been at semis and crossing that border and getting them through to the finals at the games. And hopefully we can turn Luka into another success story like that.
Is there anyone else then that we should be keeping an eye out for? Anybody that you're excited about?
I'm going in terms of talking on the game stage. That's pretty much the roster. Obviously this weekend we have quarterfinals, and that's going to be very exciting with the reduction of the field, Europe being so competitive. We are probably going to see some names that we expect to see at semi-finals not there just because of that reduction from 60 to 40. So, it's not like we're paying attention to this weekend. The athletes are going in focused, and we're taking it as an important step in the season.